All right, today we got a rock star, almost like a magician, Merlin the magician. No, actually, let's get real here. We're going to get Merlin and share with you guys under the hood the things that he's done to really be able to optimize his business. You know, get those things out of his head that he just could never get out of his head, the most complicated, the easiest ones into the hands of his team so his team could execute on them. I mean, if you ever wondered to yourself, how the hell do I do this right on my own? You can't do it on your own. You got to do it with the team, and you got to get the shit out of your head into their hands so that they can start, leveraging you, and you can start leveraging them to take your business to the next level. Okay? Merlin was able to turn this thing and turn his ship around in 4 months. He went from almost being bankrupt and heading in the wrong direction to having $100,000 in net profit in 4 months. Go figure, right? So anyways, that's what we do here at Profit for Contractors, to make you guys more profits that will pay for your freedom. All right, catch you on the flip. Stay tuned. Take notes. Bring your A game. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao. Until right now, this very moment, contractors have always been on their own, not as tradespeople, but being alone and knowing how to take their business to the next level. They call us working class, they call us blue collar. They say that we don't have the smarts to become the business owner that we're meant to be. That is such bullshit. You have the ability. You're more than any of that. The question really is, where do you get the insights that you need specific to contracting to systemize your business so you can get your profits to pay for your freedom? I'm Andrew Houston. I'm going to show you how to make more profits, how to get more control, how to get more freedom in the simplest, quickest way possible without any of that bullshit. Welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. Listen up, level up, and if you learn something, like the video, subscribe to the channel, change your business, change your life. All right, everybody, welcome to the No Bullshit Podcast for Contractors. And I'm here with Merlin the magician. We're going to be talking to you guys about a lot of amazing things that Merlin's been able to accomplish. Again, if you're listening to this podcast, this is all about helping contractors, owners of contracting companies, take their business to the next level. And in all honesty, go from being a business owner / tradesperson to becoming a champion CEO. So, Merlin, welcome, my man. How's it going?
And thank you. Doing great. Yeah, a little bit of a cloudy day here, but we're staying positive, staying optimistic. The rain was holding up, so we were able to get a good day on site for the guys, and yeah, trucking away.
Good, man. I mean, that's one thing you guys will be able to probably pull out of this is the energy from Merlin as far as having a great attitude, and I think that's a really big part of being able to become a champion CEO, a better business person, is having the right attitude. So let's get into this. So Merlin, tell us a little bit about your company, tell us about where you're located, all that kind of stuff. And then let's get into the before, the during, and soon to be the future of where you're taking this business.
Let's do it. So my name is Merlin Obrecht. We own Merlin's Roofing Corporation, sole proprietor. Basically, I've been in business for 5 years, and in the last sort of 4 months, we've been able to make a pretty big positive jump with PFC. Yeah. But I've been roofing with my dad since I was a little kid. We're a standing seam metal roofing company, so we're not really messing with shingles. We do a fair amount of repairs. However, our main focus is on installing standing seam roofs that are made to last 100 years or longer. And then the way that we're achieving that is we're using European gill details that have been developed over the last couple thousand years and perfected over the last couple hundred. And they're all available, but they're just sort of not utilized in North America. And that has a lot to do with schooling, the history of our country, rapid construction, and not having a depth of trade knowledge. But now with the internet, of course, all things are possible. So I was able to go out there and find a lot of that information over the last couple of years, and then I've sensitized that into our processes. And the response from people have been great, because I think a lot of people have had issues with caulking or some rubber boot or something failing on that roof. So a lot of people are starting to be able to relate, it seems like, or problems with their shingle roof. And having the idea of something be zero maintenance, still not for everyone, obviously. I think the idea is for everybody, but the budget's not. And the people who are willing to really spend the budget are generally the people it's a long-term investment for them. I'd say, if you're going to sell your house next year, it might not be worth to get a Merlin's roofing roof, because we're going to rip it all apart, make sure your ventilation's good, make sure your insulation's good, make sure the structure is good. then we're going to put a roof on it with no caulking or solder anywhere. That's going to be maintenance free for 50 years until you got to repaint it. And then hopefully at that point, it's just a few paint coats away from 100 years.
Love it, man. So let's talk about, you've highlighted that it's very niched. It's very target audience for your product and your services. We'll touch on that a little bit more, but let's get down and into the dirt of, before you've been with Profit Contractors for how long now? Just months, right?
Yeah, put it into context. I think I got going in May or something like that.
Exactly. So hasn't been that long. Okay. So again, everybody listening in, this is, there's a lot of great podcasts out there. There's also just as many, if not a lot more, of where people are saying they're going to provide value and insights, and it's just some sort of high level strategy.
Yeah.
What's that?
Like a sales pitch, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a little bit of bullshit, right? So look, yes, we're going to give you an opportunity if you guys want to get some help. And I'm going to, emphasize getting help, whether it's from us or somebody else, because like I say on all these podcasts, I think one of the core attributes, not all, but one of the core attributes is asking for help. And even prior to that, it's getting real with your situation, as best as you can see it, right? And so, a lot of people, hey, we're all human. We're all trying to just get things rock and roll and have the best life that we can. And when we have conversations, we'll typically say, hey, how's it going? To a fellow contractor, oh man, it's going pretty good. It's going great. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the guy knows what he really wants to say to somebody is like, I'm fucking hurting. I'm done. I got no problems. I got no cash flow, right? He might have a nice shiny truck. So let's talk about, let's make you the example to everybody about sharing under the hood of like how bad things were and where were things at just prior to May.
Yeah, prior to May, we weren't in a totally desolate situation, but we were just having a bunch of issues with a lot of things. We would typically have a happy client, by the end of the process, potentially. But our processes, the jobs were dragging on way longer than they should. We were spread far too thin. Some of our jobs were quoted well, but then we'd sort of have the odd job that wouldn't be quoted so well. And it would really just, throw off everything. And then, of course, just even simple things like not being on top of our invoicing. Real interested, like through a couple of the group things. I think there was one moment that stood out for me with you and Bob. And you're talking about all the different modes.
By the way, they don't know who Bob is, right? So
sorry. Bob GoPro, badass accountant, owns a very successful accounting firm. He's all over the place. You can check him out on Google. But basically, so you and Bob were talking about all the different modalities or methods that you can improve profitability through. And that sort of really struck home with me. And they're explaining how raising your prices is the easiest one of all of those, whether it's growing revenue, increasing your invoicing productivity on jobs, pricing for materials, right? All the different areas that there is. But I think that it just opened my mind that it's like, holy shit, you don't have to necessarily, it's not the, well, and just more than that, I think what I realized, because before that, I'd just been focused on charging more. I've always charged a lot. I charged at the top of my bracket, but you could charge as much as you want. And if you're not focusing on any of those other brackets at all, it's not going to work out. You will not make money if you're not looking at all for the good, just buying the most expensive materials, zero production schedule, invoicing is, late or not on time. Like it doesn't matter how much you charge if that stuff's bad to a certain point. So that was sort of where we were at. And we basically, we're still not perfect at any of those things. We got tons and tons of stuff to improve on them. But I think the secret behind our success was lately has been sort of increasing our efficiency and our ability in each of those categories, even if it's on 5 points in each place. Better at invoicing. We are a little bit better with the production schedule. We raised our prices a little bit more, reduced our volume because we realized the numbers on that and how they work. It's like you add all those things together and all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of money left over.
It's so true. So I think one thing that I'm hearing, and just maybe to articulate, from my perspective, listening to this, and I hear it from every single family member at Contractors, is too many times, and there's a couple of key principles I want everybody to get. And Merlin, you nailed a big one, which is that you could have something working really well in your business, a very specific aspect, like, hey man, I don't need help. I mean, I can land all the clients I want. I'm super, super busy. My guys are busy. Okay. That is like a hair in the head of all the areas. And look when I say it's a no bullshit podcast, I love bringing it up all the time because I'm not going to paint the rosy picture for you guys. That would be bullshit on my part.
It wouldn't be helpful. Right.
That's right. Totally.
Right. It's not helpful. It's like when you give something too much to people, you're not teaching them the lesson of working hard or trust or whatever. Like you're actually doing something harmful to them in the long term. You're just setting them up to be, not have that ability to provide for themselves or whatever it is.
You got it. And the thing is that you don't know what you don't know. Okay, and a lot of people are like, what the fuck, what does that mean, Andrew? I'm like, well, the reality is that, and I can give tons of examples. Like, and by the way, Bob is part of our team. Okay, like Bob's got his own company. We got the lawyer aspect of it. We've got the bookkeeping aspect of it. We've got all these experts. And the reason I'm highlighting this is not just to say, hey, here's what we got at Contractors, but we have these experts because the reality is, even me, and I'm not trying to fluff my feathers. I'll just tell you, I'm pretty good at coaching people and bringing insights and laying this shit out. And it's worked for a lot of people. With that being said, I'm not an expert accountant. I'm not an expert lawyer. I don't do what you do, Merlin, right? Like the point is, it's impossible. If you say to yourself, I know what's going on with my business, it's fucking, you're bullshitting yourself if you think that's the case. If you don't have these experts and you're getting, and not only experts, but people that are looking at things from an outside perspective. Okay. Yeah. That, I say this before, you can't see yourself swing a club. You're golfing. You want to, hey, I'm going to go and improve my golf game. Okay. You can only take it so far before something, whether it's you recording it on a video or having somebody stand there and watch you, but there's going to come a point where somehow you're going to have to take a step back and with the right set of lenses and see the things that you need to see. So
I think it's funny. It's something that's like not done for contracting enough, but it's like when you put it like that, it's so true. I mean, and for everything else in life, if you want to get better at tennis, you're going to go hang out with the best tennis players. Like, every single thing in life is defined by emulating other people's success and knowledge that's been based over, hundreds or thousands of years of refinement and development, right? You try to reinvent the wheel without dealing with what everyone else has already figured out. And maybe you're going to have improvements or change it or whatever. But I think the point is if your cup is full and that's how people get better at things. That is the model for success, is basically emulating what people have already done and then putting your twist on it to improve it after you've already been humble and still always remain humble. I think that's the biggest thing. Once your glass is full and you got it figured out, you're never going to be able to learn more.
You got it. So when we were working, when you were working with the coaches, I mean, I know you got a lot of different things. One of the things was leveraging that one-on-one session, right? That one-on-one coaching with, name some of the coaches that helped you out along the way.
Yeah. Well, the biggest for me have been Jay and Rick for sure. Those are, as a starter sort of candidate of PFC, those are the main coaches that are available to me. And then as well, Bob, I guess, too. Bob only really had the 2 meetings with him, but that first meeting was one of the most critical aspects of being able to move forward, because obviously the numbers are the root of everything. If you don't have the numbers, you don't have, like you guys talk about the scorecard. If you don't have at least you might not have a scorecard every day, but if you don't have like a base, like this is 1,000% what our overhead is based on the year, what I need to charge to break even, you're going to always be playing numbers and games with yourself. And well, maybe our overhead's not really that much. I don't know. Like, it's a longer job maybe. So we can't, we're making it up. They're keeping the guys but as soon as you can see it black and white, it allows you to start making the next steps. And then Jay was really good at sort of I always say that I find as a business owner, you get used to when your whole life, my whole life I've been working for someone else. It's only the last 5 years and then you got to make every single decision. It's all on you, and you're directing the ship basically as the skipper deciding where it's going. And, based off of what you've learned, but it's just, it's hard to know where to go. And it was amazing even if it's just a confirmation. So like my first meetings with Jay was like, you need to buy a roll former. It's going to be the greatest investment you ever made. This is what you're doing, and you're going to do it by the end of this year. And then just having someone tell me that almost like a boss or something, it felt great. It's just like, all right, perfect. This is what I need to do. This is what I'm doing. This is a good choice. And then it just allowed me to have the confidence to set out on that warpath. I think in general, whether it's coaches at PFC or mentors or friends that are successful in business, just having people to echo off of that are in the same space as you and have been more.
I think that's an important one. I think that's an important point I want to amplify. I want to get some numbers as well. Like people are like, okay, you've improved your efficiency, you improved, you increased your pricing, you're able to get this roll former. Okay. We'll talk about numbers here in just a second, but I can't stress this enough. Okay. And I get that other people, and God love them, like our other consultants and coaches and things of that nature. I'm not saying that other people that aren't in your space can't help you. But what I'm trying to tell you is this: there is no way in frickin' hell that they can see what it is that they need to see to get you to see what you need to see. Like having somebody say, hey, you're going to go get a roll former. I mean, most consultants would they wouldn't even know what that is, dude. Right? Like, are you with me? Like,
yeah, totally.
Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Some of the business coaches at PFC that are non-related, like, it's a very niche thing. You should, when I start up the board, they're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah.
That's right, dude. Okay, yeah. That's right. So, and the other thing is, I want you to understand, guys, get yourself in a community. Anybody listening in, right? Like, we've got hundreds and hundreds of people, and there's two different groups. There's the contractor tips group. There's like over 7,000 contractors in there, and then we have people that, and they're part of the family. But then there's the people that have decided, hey, I'm going to invest into my business and get some actual one-on-one help. And those are the people that are in the champion CO group. Okay. So regardless, guys, surround yourself with people like what Merlin said that are in your space, that are tradespeople, because there's things that go on in the trades that if you're not in it and you haven't been in it, you can't talk about things like job costing, back costing. You can't talk about, like from Profit Contractors where we're going, there's a pre-start, there's the run, there's the finish. And people are like, what the fuck are you talking about, Andrew? I'm like, dude, I did this. I used to think it was just running a job. No, man, it's we got to get set up way before the feet hit the ground. And all the way back to the fucking quoting, all the way back, right, to fucking which clients do we want to take, all the way back to like what do we want to tell these people?
I find that's what I'm working on a lot right now. That's sort of one of the stages I'm at, and I find it almost goes to I used to train a lot of MMA, and it's kind of like the train hard, fight easy idea. Yeah. The same thing for contracting. It's like plan hard, execute easy or whatever. Because once you're on the job and if all the materials are right there, the production schedule is set out, everything's the right length, the right order, the client's informed of their payment schedule, like when everything's set up to a degree, then it all just runs and everything's smooth. And before you know it, the job's done and the guys are happier and it all goes good. So yeah, so much to be said for that.
So let's talk a little bit about numbers. So
yeah,
I think like, in a matter of months, you were able to save about 100K or so in net profit. Is that true?
Yeah, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us about like, when you look at the gains that you've gotten, and you look at the things that you've done, what was the mindset shift that you had? If you look at where your mindset was at before and where it's at now. And what were some of elaborate a little bit on the tangibility of this increase? Where was your mindset at before, and where's your mindset at now?
Before,
Even awareness level, like
I think it was just like the change was just a change in the focus of, I always realized that I needed to work on the business, not in the business so much, but I guess the change was really having a system that I could follow that allowed me to incrementally get there as far as like to even start to have the time to work on the program, So for me, the biggest thing to start with was my sales process. I spent almost every day, all day, just driving around to different people's houses, giving them free information. And probably in some ways building my brand, and even with the jobs I don't get, which are most of them. But I mean, if you follow that to a far enough extreme, you're basically going to run yourself bankrupt if you're just driving around to every single person who calls you. And especially in my area, a lot of those drives are an hour, and then I'm spending an hour there. That's 3 hours. You go do 2-3 of those a day, and that's your full day, and you haven't even put an estimate together yet. And most of those people are probably wasting your time, and you're going to make an estimate for them anyway. So the filtering fast thing was huge for me. That helped like right away. And then once I figured out a really detailed sales process, as far as now we do a Zoom call introductory, and I'm able to weed out almost everyone that's not going to be a fit at that point, because they send us pictures before that phone call. And so I could really go through the job, catch most of the details. And then we're establishing a budget before I'm ever going to site. So by the time I'm showing up on site, the client's agreed to an approximate budget and scope of work that we've defined on that call. And that's been massive. I mean, now, with like doing it at that model, I can do those same 4 calls. That's an hour and a half or 2 hours of my day, right? Like those calls now can be 30 minutes, 10 minutes of prep before, 20-minute phone call, maybe 40 minutes at the longest.
Okay, so just hold it right there. Okay, so on these sessions, if you've listened to any of them recently, they're evolving. Okay, hopefully they're evolving in the right way. If not, I don't know, man. I like them, so
I'm trying our best.
I don't know, like there's more and more of me. Like we haven't scripted this. Okay, everybody listening in, and I do that on purpose. Again, it might bite me someday, right? But
no, definitely not. They're the most successful podcasts in the world. They're not scripted. Anyone who's
okay. Well, there you go. Right. So part of this is I want
conversation out there.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get into everybody experiencing, and maybe you've already thought of this, Merlin, but I just want to apply a little bit of coaching. Okay. And when Merlin talked about the importance of getting the right people around you so you can get the right level of awareness and have it with a backed up system, like there's an order to it. Okay. Let's see where we go with this. So if I'm listening to you here, if we were to look at your capacity of sales as a ratio, what would be the ratio that you just said right now that you went from? Like, what would be the gain in ratio?
I don't know, but it's a lot.
No. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So the first one was 3 people, 3 hours per person. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 hours for 3 clients. And we might not even have a budget at the end of those 3 meetings, right?
You got it.
So the next one is now those 3 meetings.
Pause for a second.
Go ahead.
Now, some of this you're going to have to guess, and you have to guess a bit. It's called guesstimate, right? You have to put a bit of guess. We have to get to the point of landing the client. Okay, so that's what we're going to do right now in the next 5 minutes. Okay, so how many calls would you have to go? Like 3 was 9 hours, right? How many calls roughly do you think you'd have to go before you got a client?
Exactly. Because I'm so niche, I'm more like, 5 to 1 maybe, right?
Right. Okay. So you're talking like 15 hours low ball, right?
Yeah, probably.
Actually, you said like 9 hours and you haven't done an estimate.
Dude, yeah. And then my estimates are the most detailed in the industry. Before pre-PFC, I did itemized line costing for everything. And I've never, like every single top engineer architect I've ever worked with or builder has always said I've never seen them the 25 years I've been working on an estimate this detailed. Like I basically give you an estimate so detailed you can build the roof with it. And the reason, I'm trying to explain the value and whatever. But
yeah. We're going to get into that as well.
It got crazy though anyways. A lot of
time going on. So Merlin's going to experience right now like a bit of an aha moment. Okay, hopefully everybody else is listening in on this. And what I'm trying to get you is to understand. Okay, at net at the end of this, in the next 3-4 minutes here, I'm going to get you to understand that if you think in your head, I don't have time for this, I'm going to fucking prove you is wrong. Okay, I'm going to prove to you that taking time will multiply time if it's focused in the right area. You probably already knew that where I'm going in that direction, but let's get some numbers behind it, okay? And I'm going to sandbag it. What's sandbag it mean? Whatever number he gives me, I'm going to reduce it so that whatever number we come up with at the end, it's like, holy fuck, that's the minimum. Cool?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. So here we are. 3 jobs, 9 hours. You said it takes roughly how many before you actually were able to? 5, okay, to get a client, right? Okay, so now you're talking 15 hours, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and so we're looking at 15 hours again. That's a little bit sandbag because Merlin was also saying like that's he would do the three of those in the beginning of this call, and he wouldn't even be able to do an estimate. He just spent freaking 9 hours driving around. Okay, but let's just say that again. Let's just say that it was to land. So 15 hours, 5 people you go see. How would take the exact same 5 people? How much time would it take you now?
So it would be, let's just say again, let's exaggerate this one. So let's say that it's an hour per average, including the 5-10 minutes to check out the job before the call. And then so now we're at 5 hours.
Right.
And at the end, I've already penciled down on a little notepad before my meeting, what I think my budgets are for the job based off of, and they've given me notes as far as what before this with the pictures. So I know what they're looking for. I know if they're looking for just snow bars or if they want a full re-roof. I'm not just shooting in the dark at that.
I love it. So understand what Merlin is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Merlin, but what he's saying is that instead of 15 hours, it's down to now 5 hours, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And instead of it just being the previous 15, he's down to 5, and he's improved his sales process whereby he's actually providing more value to the clients. Okay, he's gathering more data from the clients. Okay, and I'm going to ask this one. Okay, so actually I'll ask this other one in a second. So instead of 15 hours, it's 5 hours. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly. And I can, like you said, even the clients that we don't go ahead with, I can still provide value to, which is always been a huge, like, I want to just help people, and even if our company is not going to be a good fit for you, I still would love to be able to give you a little bit of advice, tell you what some ballpark numbers might be for a shingle roof and that happens a lot of the time. And I'm totally okay with that because I know we don't have time in our schedule to do all the roofs in the world anyways.
I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to take this to the next level. So everybody stick with me. It was 15 hours. Now it's down to 5. Okay, so 5 hours he lands a client. Before it was 15 hours and he lands a client. It's actually a shitload more than that. Watch this. So Merlin, when you look at this process, okay, and now we're already at a 3-to-1 ratio. That's a 300% increase in the amount of time that you have. Is it true?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay, watch this. Merlin, those 5 people that you speak with compared to, right? So if we compared this, right, we had 15 hours, right?
Yeah.
And how many people did you go see?
5. So okay. 15 for 5, 5 for 5.
Right, 5 and 5. Okay, now watch this though. Are the people that you're seeing out of those 5 now higher quality people?
They are. Well, I mean, they are because now they've already had to send me pictures.
Yes.
And write up the scope of their work. And
totally.
I would say 1 of 8 or 1 of 7 of every new incoming lead is a real tire kicker that doesn't even make the qualification for that call. So they don't even get through. So sometimes someone will call me and I can tell they're just basically want me to come by and give them free advice. Say, no problem. If you'd be interested in an estimate, please fill out a service request on our website. Our office manager will be in touch in 24 hours and she'll schedule a meeting for you right away. And then some people, it's like they don't even want to go through the time, right, of filling out that service request. And that's a perfect filter right there. Because if you don't, if you're interested in our services, you don't have the 5 minute, like if I was going to get a new roof, I would definitely, you get it.
But guys, understand this. So he's got a 300% better return on his time. Okay. He's filtering out, from what I'm hearing. Okay. Say out of those 5 people, right? Now the 5 people you're dealing with are qualified people. Those other 5 people, it was like going to the fucking track, right?
Whoever called you, man? Whoever had the time to pick up your phone, you're like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll come check out your job. We'll be there. Right in your mind, you'll all be able to convert. Yeah, who knows? I think when you're starting, you're just happy to have your phone ring, right?
And this is where I want to go with it. So what?
It's a relic of that.
You got it. So one last thing on this, and there's a lot more, but I'm just highlighting the key ones. Okay. Did your conversion rate, that means from your quote to win ratio, you know what that is, right? We teach you that, right? How many jobs you quote, how many you win. Did your quote to win ratio go up because of this new filtering system where you're dealing with more qualified people?
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing, but it honestly has. And I find also it's been a lot, like just the more that we specialize and say that we only do this types of jobs, it attracts more of those types of clients, right? Like when I first said I was going to stop doing shingles, it took 6 months of getting calls, 4 or 5 times a week of, do you want to do a shingle job? But then after that 5 months, those calls just stop coming in, right? Your reputation changes. People realize like, okay, Merlin's just the metal guy. He only does metal. And then even within that and standing seam and doing the higher end stuff, now it's like, all right, don't call Merlin unless it's a really fancy roof or you got something really crazy to do that no one else can do or something. Like even I would say the top contractors in my area, they'll probably just get their own guys to do the roof if it's going to be a simple enough project or something like that. They're really only going to bring us in if it's something super high end and fancy that they know they don't want to be touching, which kind of works out too, because then we can be charging the problem with work that anyone can do, it's hard to charge more on, right?
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put this in a little package. Okay, here we go. So you got 3-to-1 minimum, like that's lowball. 3-to-1 minimum ROI, greater ROI on your time. Okay, so in the span of a week, guys, you think about this. Like Merlin's able to see 3x the number of prospects. Okay, but hold it. They're more qualified now. So not only is he able to see more prospects, he's able to see more of the right prospects. Now, your conversion rate, what would you say your conversion rate went up by? Like, would you say 10, 20? What do you say?
Not that much, but to your point, you know what that really allowed me to do was raise my prices even more.
Yes.
Before, there would have just been some leads that would fall through the cracks. After a certain point, I would just have to, or my prices wouldn't be high enough and I'd be booked till October in fucking June, And it's just like all those calls for the rest of the year just are thrown in the garbage, basically. So that's the biggest thing is like now that I can see 15 people in a day, well, then now I can raise my prices 20% because I'm going to have more volume of leads to get because we're still doing the same amount of jobs, right? So we can just, like you say, the volume of leads is just able to increase and we can provide better value to each one of those people too. And then people who do go ahead and want the meeting, then I can really provide the good value. I can go out, I can give them the crazy detailed estimate. I can, field all their phone calls and answer their emails really quickly and all that kind of stuff. So.
I love it. So everybody listening, and you might want to write down these 3 things, okay? Now, it applies a little bit differently depending upon the contractor that we're working with, but from a filtering perspective, you got to make sure, guys, that you understand that you've got to qualify. You got to qualify your prospects, and I get it, man. Merlin gets it that a lot of times we live in this world of scarcity, and we're like, oh man, I'm not going to get enough leads. I'm not going to get enough business. Let me be really clear. The people that you're engaging with right now are the people that you're engaging with. What's my point with that? If you don't change the people that you're engaging with, okay, you're not going to change the results you get on the sales, on the profits, even in the running of the jobs, because you still got to deal with these clients or these jobs, right? So if you get one jackass freaking client, right? One bad client, by the way. Have you ever had a bad client, Merlin?
Oh yeah, a good few, and just bad. And for me, unfortunately too, it was always the big ones, because it was always like a job where it's like, holy fuck. Because if you used your normal pricing ratios, the job works out at $300,000 or something. You're like, oh, that would be insane for this. It should be, I'm sure, around 2 something. whatever you end up coming up with for, whatever the scale it is. And some of them were smaller, 70, but the point being that they were just big for me at the time. And so the numbers just got starry-eyed for me. I wasn't able to, I think it's keeping your emotions out of it. It's the same thing with do you have too much work? It's like, well, what has been your average sales call volume of incoming leads over the past years? This year, have you had a similar amount or less? So even if you had less, say you're going to have 20% less or something, like, if for the last 5 years your phone rings 5 times a week, it follows that for the next 3 months your phone will continue to probably ring at least 4 or 3 times a week. And I think that planning for trying to bug up your schedule because maybe COVID gonna just hit again or something and destroy everything isn't smart either. Like the thing I told my brain, because it is scary for sure, especially when you're making that switch where you're used to having that as a sense of security of booking yourself out and stuff, is that at the end of the day, if things really go bad and we really have no work, we're really great at what we do. We're super well set up. We could really easily just go subcontract to someone. And the other thing I told myself too is, since I started, I've never been at home once bored with nothing to do. So again, if it follows probably in the future, if I continue my habits and my behaviors, I probably won't be at home bored with nothing to do.
So, when we look at net, one of the things that you said was prior to the call here, one of the things you highlighted was you put in this sales process, you increase your profits, you got 100K in net profit. Okay. And I always talk about your profits pay for your freedom, right? Your profits do pay for your freedom, but your systems as well pay for your freedom. And you had mentioned that throughout the sales process, and that's only one part of it, but you freed up 30 plus hours a week.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you guys saw how those hours would work out. Not it doesn't take long to get 30 hours when 5 people takes 15, It's
holy guys.
So if you're trying to do multiply that by the overwriting the estimates, right? If you're handing out estimates to everyone who asks, then that same thing. And I'm spending an hour and a half doing every estimate. So it's you get to 30 plus hours before you know what happened.
And guys, understand, okay? So actually, instead of me saying this, I just want to get Merlin's perspective. Then we're going to move on to a couple other key points before we wrap things up. Is if somebody says to you, Merlin, Merlin goes, listening to a contractor. Imagine Merlin, you're sitting down, having breakfast, buddy contractor comes over and goes, yeah, man, you guys are like, hey, how's it going? You start getting into the conversation. And he's like, yeah, fucking things are crazy, business out of control. And you're like, yeah, man. Yeah, I was at the same place. And he's like, what do you mean? And you're like, well, I did this and this, and, I freed up, 30 hours a week. What would you say to a guy that says to you, I don't have the time. I don't think that'll work for me?
That's excellent. And I've worked for those guys, I think that's the most common contractor response ever. And a lot of people wear it as a badge of honor, like you say, Andrew. I'm just so overwhelmed. Oh, I got no time for anything. I'm booked for the next year, that's what they like to, and then, nothing's ever running that good. They never seem like they're really that successful in the big scheme of things. And I think that it's like you said, you got to slow down to speed up. Mm-hmm. You got to start taking that monk mindset kind of and just relaxing your brain and stop being so frantic and focus on processes and systems. I think the best way you describe it, the most relatable way you described it, Andrew, is this. You can't be the Wayne Gretzky of your fucking hockey team. You can't just be running around playing every single position on the field and think that you're going to go win the championships. There's not a sports team in the world that does that, and there's a good reason why.
Did you just memorize that? That's almost word for word that would come.
Yeah, no, it was a good one. I loved it. I mean, it's so true, and I have said it to people. I can tell that one sinks in. They get that. They're like, oh, I guess that's a good point. I am playing a lot of different positions on my team, and really good, successful teams in any space generally have strong players in every domain and field that complement each other's strengths and weaknesses. And that is the model, right? Humans work better together than alone. If that wasn't true, then civilizations would not exist.
Dude, it's so true. And just to amplify that, I want you to all think about this for a second. One of the greatest limiting pieces of a business, and yeah, I might get a bunch of bad freaking emails or whatever on this. I don't really give a shit. The biggest limiter of most businesses, who do you think it is, Merlin?
I don't know.
The owner.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah.
The business can only grow to the level at which the owner is willing to grow. So if the owner is, I'm the only one that can do it this way. I'm the only one I'm the best this, I'm the best that. Oh, you know what? I can't get it done right. I'm going to do it myself. Okay. Guess what? You're now in the trap. So if you're listening to this,
yep, totally.
You can relate to this. You're in the trap. You're in the contractor trap. And the trap is this: until you get your mind, and if it's only one thing you get out of this podcast, okay, it's the shift in your mindset that you were not meant to figure all this shit out on your own. You're not meant to be the best installer if you want to grow a business. Now, if you want to go fucking make some money, dude, pack up your fucking business. Anybody listening in, because most tradespeople, if you're young enough, are the Gretzkys of their trade. So you can make a shitload of money going working for somebody. I could back in the automation world. But if you want to be an owner versus the person being the installer versus being the person quoting versus being, it's not the same freaking person.
Is the being irreplaceable. I think that's what I see so many owners get stuck on. Is they say, I'm the only one who can quote, or I'm the only one who can be doing the sales process, or on a lower level, I'm the only guy who can install this piece of crown molding like this. But like, you're talking to a guy who is a technological, electrical, what was it again? Automated electrical engineer. And I do some of the highest and most difficult roofing in the entire country. We both figured out how to teach people to do that. You know, like there's no way your trade is too hard or too complicated that you can't be teaching someone to do it or figure out a processor system to do it.
Totally agree with you.
I think that's what a lot of people are stuck in. They just got the ego of like, I'm the best framer or whatever the fuck it is. And like, I cannot get, I can't hide. Like some people are on like, you know, they're just them and a helper. I see 90% of the people I see in my area are stuck at them and a helper for their whole life till they retire. And that basically seems to be the first thing they get.
I'm going to tell you why. Okay. It's directly related to the limitation of the owner. Okay. If Merlin's on this call, if you've listened, if this is the first podcast, the No Bullshit podcast for contractors you've listened to, listen to like say 2 more. You're gonna hear a common thread, right? These are people that are on this call, like Merlin, that have been, that have had success. Now Merlin's got a fucking long ways to go of success. Like, dude, you're gonna leave a legacy. You're gonna do. Yeah, I mean, seriously, you're heading towards $1 million.
Anytime you get to like an achievement in the physical world, not in your mental or spiritual world, it's never what it's just a thing, right? And you're always just gonna look for the next one, like you said.
Totally.
But like relative to a lot of people, for sure, I've had some sweet success in the last while, and it does feel so real in many ways. Like in a lot of like when I was first looking at that account before I spent it all and bought a machine, which is another conversation. It was crazy. I can't believe it. I just could not believe that.
Guys, like hopefully what you're getting out of this so far is that from small steps. He basically had amplified results, and he's only just gotten started. Okay, now that results, are one of 2. They're good results, and they're fucking bad results. So Merlin having one bad client, Merlin, like how much would, just out of the top of your head?
It's unreal, man. It's the time they eat up. It's the endless emails.
Give me a number. How much would a job like that went sour? How much would you have lost in one job?
I think it's like you think that you only lost the 10K, that like you think the job just went in the red on 10K, but I think it's probably actually like 25K because there's the money you could have made somewhere else. There's the extra meetings and bullshit.
No, Merlin.
Oh, yeah.
Merlin, here's a bonus coaching session.
Yeah, good.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Ready for it? Okay. Let's say your net profit is 10%. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say there's, just for math, your net profit's 10%. Merlin, if you lose $10,000 on a job, the client doesn't pay you. That's $10,000. Or The client's a pain in the ass, doesn't give you the information, the job goes off the rails, it doesn't get fucking done the right way, it costs you 10 grand. The boys are inefficient and it costs you 10 grand. Whatever. However, we come to the 10 grand. Guess what? Over the course of the year, every single contractor listening in, I guarantee you've lost 10 grand. I don't care if it's $500 last week, 1,000 the fucking week before, you lost it. Okay. You didn't get the proper pricing from the suppliers. I mean, guys, I could talk for like an hour on these fucking things. Okay. So guess what? At 10% net profit, here we go, Merlin. You would have to do $100,000 in additional sales to cover the 10,000.
That's what I remember you breaking down the math. Now that I was trying to explain
100,000, dude, and 10,000 is nothing. Okay, it's unreal. Like, think about this, everybody. Like, when you go, I can't get ahead, or I love this one. I've sold more this year than I ever have, and I got less money in the fucking bank. Well, I'll tell you why. Because those little cracks that you have, they don't go up just by one step. They go up in an amplified. So 10 grand is now equated to 100 grand. What? Well, yeah, I just proved it to you. Like, loss of 10 would have to mean 100 grand worth of work. Holy fuck. Do that 3 times. See what I'm saying? Give me 1 second. My battery's going dead.
No problem.
So you know, when Merlin is going and he's improving, you guys can still hear me, no? So when Merlin, guys, is improving his business, the same thing happens on the positive side, okay? So when he's improving his sales process, when he's improving, you know, his systems, when he's filtering fast, he's not only making more profits, everybody, not only is, pay attention to this. The difference, here we go. How did he go and make so much gain? Because he plugged the hole in profit while at the same time he amplified the ROI. Does that make sense, Merlin?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's an exponential effect, just as the negative effects of losing the 10K are exponential. It's like once you increase all of those different categories of all the different aspects of how your business is run just by a little bit, the effects are exponential. They add up. And it's weird. The human brain's really bad at math, especially on a big scale like that. I think that's a big problem. Like, I used to not think it mattered what material price I bought. So I'd say, well, I charge good prices. I don't need to go digging for the good material prices. Until you realize that, like, oh shit, there could be another 10 grand, which would be a pretty nice trip or something at the end of the year.
Guys, it's huge, right? Like, you put in a sales process, you now are filtering out the Class D clients, right? So now you're plugging the leak in, losing 10 grand, which means you're plugging the leak and having to go get $100,000 worth of work, which is fucking just throwing it out just to pay for that bill. On the flip side, you're fucking putting a sales process in place. It's the same thing. It's not like you had to go create something else. It's the same thing, which gave you 3x the goddamn, gave you 30 hours a week back in time. Now you take the 30 hours in time, and now you apply it to systemizing your freaking process. Now you do it to, making sure that you're able to increase your pricing. Now and all of a sudden it just goes boom. But guess what? There's a common thread. And this is where Merlin got it right. He raised his hand. He did something about it. Okay. Every single one of you guys, in here, okay, has got leaks in their bucket of profit. And I'm going to take the mask off. Now, what does that mean? It means, when I say I take the mask off, do you know what that means, Merlin?
Yeah, it means you're going to be upfront and genuine, which I hope you always would be.
Dude, it's no.
Andrew's always off. He's just letting you know some real shit's about to drop.
That's right.
Yeah.
Guess what, guys? I got fucking leaks in my bucket of profit. Yeah, I'm serious. At Profit for Contractors, I have leaks. You're like, what? I thought you're Mr. People go, oh, you're a guru. I'm not a fucking guru. I got a long ways to fucking go. I honestly, I seriously do. People go, oh, you're this expert. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe. But I'm like, I always feel like we're always learning. Okay. So guys, this is more than my first business. Okay? I have multiple businesses. the reality is that we all have, as your business grows, the issues that didn't exist, okay, now get created.
Yeah, the small leaks, right?
No, just a second. No. Even if you had not, even in a specific area, if it wasn't a problem at all, it will become a problem. And it's meant to be. Now, if you have small cracks, yes, they'll become massive issues. But what I'm talking about right now is that profit for contractors, dude, we looked at the numbers there. This is, again, take the mask off. We 3x'd our revenue in 1 year, okay? And we fucking cranked the profits even more than that. And you're like, why are you sharing this, Andrew? Because I'm going to tell you. The systems that used to work for us, they're not at the level that I need them to be at for this guy, for the rest of the team, for all the other clients. And guess what? Are we fixing it? Yeah, it's going to get fixed. Is it going to get to the point where it's actually fixed and there's no cracks? Yeah. But then guess what? We, as being entrepreneurs, we go and we break it. Our job, look at, if you're struggling with this shit, if you're having tough times, if you're like, how do I fix this problem? The first thing right there is if you ask yourself that question, how do I fix it? That's a good starting point. Instead of like throwing your fucking hands up, okay? Because a champion CEO understands this. And by the way, I still get stressed. Guys, I was up at 3 o'clock fucking this morning doing shit. You're like, what? Yeah, man, I was. Now, is it that cycle all the time for me? No. Do I have to do that? No, I don't. But I'm that driven to solve problems. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like. But that's what being an entrepreneur is. That's what being a champion CEO is breaking the fucking mold over and over and over. So that what? So you can become the best. Dude, you don't do fucking MMA. I used to wrestle with Hoist Gracie and all those fuckers. Okay. My brother had his own martial arts club and stuff. My brother would be, like I love Bruce Lee, boards don't hit back. My brother would be like, dude, shadow boxing and shit. Okay. But you want to really actually learn how to box? You want to learn how to do Muay Thai? Guess what? You're going to get the shit kicked out of you. There you go. What? Well, yeah. I mean, if you really want to learn how to do it, right? That's the same as business. But the difference is, what's the difference, Merlin?
Well, not only there's any difference. I think it's the exact same fucking thing. And I think just like fighting, it's like you need to get beat up, but not too much that it breaks you. Just a little bit that it makes you better. But if it's not enough, then you'll never get better either. Like if you're not exposed and dumped into the water of it and like really fighting to get better, like you're not you need those scars, but then you need someone to kind of pull you out at the last second before you're getting too hurt that it's creating damage that's going to take longer to heal than the lessons you've learned. But they go hand in hand. The lessons come with the damage, and you can't really have them without the other.
Dude, I like that's what I believe. Okay, like that maybe I'm wrong. Okay, but that's my principles of profit for contractors. Okay, is Merlin now is becoming a mentor in his posts and things to other people that were where he was at, and Merlin's like, oh, fuck, man, I was there. But then there's people above Merlin when they're like, oh, Merlin, I was fucking where you're at. And you're like, what? So, guys,
exactly, yeah.
If you're struggling, first of all, I'm going to tell you this. You're meant to struggle. Okay? First of all, it's okay. It's not okay. No, it's true. It's not okay, man. What's fucking not okay?
Yeah.
Okay, is not going, okay, I got to learn from this and get better from it versus the woe is me. Okay, the blame, the excuses, the
mindset.
denial.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed that too. It's like that's something that PFC preaches. That's something I'm reading this book by Jay Shetty called Think Like a Monk right now. All about that. Gary Vaynerchuk, one of my big business idols.
Yeah, man.
All about that as well. Like it's so interesting. All of these, go like you say, common threads. And positive mindset is one of the hugest ones. Like if your first starting place is woe is me, you'll never get there because then it's someone else's fault. And if it's someone else's fault, you don't have to act on it. Even if it is someone else's fault, if you can somehow internalize that as it being your fault, but at the same time, not let it break you, not be overwhelmed by it. That's how you're going to be able to get better. Because if it's your fault, then there's something you can do to fix it. If everything's not your fault, then there's fuck all you can do. And you just are where you are. But that's very, very, very rarely the case. And even in cases where you're locked in prison, unjustly in some foreign country, well, like you could start trying to figure out, like, your brain's going to be better off if you spend your mental energy figuring out how to get better and how to get out of there, positively, rather than just sitting in the woe is me. Like, the external circumstance isn't really important. No matter what, you're going to be happier and better if you can keep a positive mind state, I think.
I think it's this, the conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation. So ask yourself this question. Are you having the conversation that you want to have with that person, right? And Merlin, I'm going to wrap it up through with this. Have I ever shared with you above and below the line?
No, tell me.
Okay, dude. You got a pen and paper? Rock and roll, baby. Here we go. I want you to draw a line. Everybody listening, here we go. Free coaching. I want you to draw a line in the middle of that sticky note. Beauty. Love it. Good man. Okay, below that line, here we go. I want you to the right. Okay, ready? Right below that line. Oh, start writing this down.
Okay, sorry.
Merlin,
yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Below that line is this word. First word is blame. Write that word down. Blame. Next word below that is excuses. Write that down. Last word underneath that line, okay, is called denial. Okay, so blame, excuses, denial. That's called below the line. I'm going to tell you what this is all about in a second. Above the line is this. Ready? Above that line, first word, responsibility. Write that. Next one above that is accountability. And the last one at the top of the page is ownership.
Nice.
Okay,
ready? Yeah.
I want you to circle below the line, the first, circle them all together. The first letter of all the words, put them all together. It's B-E-D, isn't it? Bed, right? So,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Right. Above the line, if you were to circle the first three letters, it's called O-A-R, or, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Below the line, right, we make our own bed. Okay? Either you're living the life of blame, excuses, and denial. Okay? Or you're playing the above the line. And the above the line is taking ownership, being accountable, being responsible, and like an oar, driving yourself in the direction that you want to take your boat.
Okay? So, I like it. You're either the oar or the bed. Fucking right.
That's it, baby. So here we go. Below that line.
Good one for kids.
Huh?
It's a good one for kids. You're either the oar or the bed, kid.
Yeah, here we go. Below the line, circle.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you who that person. Here's the name of that person. Ready?
Right.
It's a victim.
Yep.
Above the line is the victor. So everybody listening in, ask yourself this question around the conversation you're having with yourself. Are you playing above or below the line? Okay.
Yep.
Now,
the victim mindset, and it's funny. I find the more that you start to shift your mindset to the victor, or the accountability mindset, or positivity mindset, it almost start before the blaming and excuses. You're hanging around someone like that, and you tolerate or you don't even notice, and you're engaging in the conversation. The more that you get into the positive, it's like cancer. You hear someone start explaining, going into the blaming and excuses, and it hurts your brain and ears. You're just
totally.
It's crazy. And you're so vividly clear to you how that mindset for them is just making their situation worse and not improving it. But it's
and here's
hard,
the thing, right?
That for people, right? It can be a hard thing.
Yeah. Well, you have to surround yourself with people above the line if you want to play above the line. Like my dad would say to me, he says, "Listen, Andy," he says, "no matter how badly you don't want to smell like shit, eventually if you stand around a manure pile long enough, it's going to rub off on you." And I'm like, what? Now, I didn't even know what the fuck that meant when I was a kid. He'd say all these Irish things.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good Irish one. I love it.
Right? So let's just break that down, and then we'll wrap this baby up, okay? Is if you look at that piece of paper,
yep.
You need to own your ship, don't you? You need to own your ship, okay? What's the next one? You need to be account-able. And right? And the last one is you need to be response-able. So how do you respond to things? How are you really taking accountability? Are you account-able? Are you looking at the numbers? Are you taking ownership, right? Are you owning your own ship? Okay. If this shit is like, holy shit, Andrew, like I gotta start playing above the line, then click the link below, guys, join a bunch of other people like-minded. Okay. Surround yourself with a whole bunch of fucking, victors, right? Like thousands of them. And trust me, it'll rub off on you. You stay below that line. You keep hanging with those that are sitting maybe at your breakfast table. Maybe they're, fellow contractors. The woe was me, below the line. You can't change anything. Nobody has any time. Then guess what? You'll stay below that line. And that's where your life is going to stay. But if you take above the line mentality and you're like, I welcome problems because I know that there's somebody out there that's going to be able to help me with them, then fucking things will change. And that's what happened in Merlin.
Because I feel like whenever you or anyone else says that, right, or even me, the thing that other people say is like, well, easy for fucking you to say everything's going good with your life, I'm sitting here in a pile of debt, you got a pile of money, must be fucking, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's like I said, going back to if you're stuck in some jail in a foreign country, like it doesn't matter what the external circumstance is, that's always going to be your best modality of positivity and accountability moving forward and working on solutions instead of problems. Yeah, it just is what it is, and everyone's got different places they are in their life and everyone's got our own problems. Like that's a very true statement. The more you learn of life and people, it's like the amount of people that got problems you don't know about is crazy, so it's like you say.
And you know what? And I get, it can be really tough. Okay. With that being said, there's so many things in your business. There's so many things that Merlin covered off today that you don't need to take it all. You just take one thing that you got an insight on, one fucking thing. Okay. Like whatever that is, it could be like, I'm going to go raise my prices, or you know what? I'm going to start thinking about who's one client that we keep getting business from that's a fucking class D pain in the ass. Fire the son of a bitch. Okay. Like whatever that is. Okay. But you gotta go, I'm going to take charge of this. I'm going to take action. Instead of all the things that you're like, I don't think I can take action on, pick one fucking thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to take action on it. Yeah, and then and pause long enough. This is the last piece. Pause it long enough to recognize the win. Because then you're training your mind to go, wait, I'm actually moving forward versus next thing. Like, to stop, right? So Merlin, even you today, right? From this call, take a moment after this call and just like really reflect on like, holy shit, man, I 3X my time. I did this, man, that thing that Andrew went through, it's not 10 grand. It's like 100 grand. I say like, that's important. Why? Because your team will sniff it. They will hear it. They will see it. And when you start acting that kind of culture of recognizing your progress and your wins, they see it as well. And guess what? It sticks, man.
You're right. That's something I need to work. Yeah, that's huge. And that's
right, dude. Listen,
people don't do is recognizing your wins. You just go forward. It's even now,
man.
Yeah. It's nothing.
You know what? You got this far, guys. And anybody listening in, and you're still able to listen in. Hey, so you made it this far, right? Like you're still listening. Unless there's some fucking mysterious place that somebody else is listening in on. But I mean, seriously, right? But it's true, right? Like you're here, you're listening, then do something about it. Go back, rewind, pause the podcast, write one of those things down, do something with it. Raise your hand, become part of the groups, click down below if you want to get some more insights. And listen, I'm going to say thanks, brother from another mother, Merlin the Magician. We'll catch you on the flip side, my man. Thanks so much for your abundance, mindset, and your sharing. And can't wait to see the next level of growth that you're going to take this baby to. Cool?
Brother, thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Take care. Peace.
Catch you later, man. Ciao.
All right, Merlin the Magician just wrapped it up. Funny enough, though, he didn't use any magic to increase his profits massively, to get control of his team, to systemize, to get things out of his head, right? So, guys, like it, these podcasts, subscribe to them. And if you want to get help like Merlin did, you want to get the insights that he got, same thing from the same place with the same results, if not even better, then book in for a chat. Raise your hand for help, okay? Don't do it alone. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Ciao.